Would have been love. I know.
The beginning of the word, right? Right? And the Father and the Spirit, right? So the word is here. The Spirit is love. So if you look at the two creatures of God in Genesis, it's made of human. Alright, do come closer, everyone. Come closer. And I want you to look at that little palm tree which is right behind me. Can you see it? Can you see that? Down there, behind me in the shaft, there's like a little tiny palm tree. Can you see that? Yeah. And if you were to look right where that palm tree is, of course, a better picture of that one would be from up there. There's a round altar over there with about 6 steps leading all the way up to it. And that's an altar 2500 BC. Interesting is that nearby we find vertical shafts dug in the ground, leading all the way to chambers. Inside these chambers, we do find jars, and within the jars, there's children who were buried in. Of course, the form of the skeleton is like an embryo. When they lay them down to the ground, they actually formed up the body to look like an embryo. Okay, you know, it's basically the birth and rebirth and death. So why we have the children over there by that altar? Yep, there were children sacrificed to the god called Moloch, or to the goddess called Ashtoreth, which is the goddess of fertility. The firstborn child would be sacrificed to the goddess. Interesting that usually the sacrifices which we know about from the ancient Near East would have usually taken place in the month of September, October, which is the time of the harvest. Thanksgiving. Okay, Thanksgiving. Well, don't be surprised. Remember, Abraham took his son and almost sacrificed him as well, right? So it was common in those days to go on and give your son or sacrifice your firstborn child to the gods and the goddesses. Now, the chapters we're looking over, that's the work of James, the professor, 1909, the first excavation over here. And when he excavated this place, he found the remains of 17 temples. By the way, he destroyed 14 of them in the process of digging. Not his fault, it was actually the methodology which they used at that time. Today, it's a different, of course, way of digging. We have more, let's say, like organized shafts. We basically dig a layer, we document it, dismantle it, dig a second layer, and so on. Nowadays, we know that over here we have 24 temples, one imposed over another. Sorry, 21 to 24 temples, one imposed over another. One temple is very interesting. Can you see the wooden scaffoldings over there, the scaffolds? Mm-hmm. To the left of it, can you see that stone lying on its side? That is a pillar which looked like the one which was over there. Date of it? 1100 BC. That's the God of Israel. It was erected by Israel. It's an Israeli temple which we have over here. And the reason they built their temple over here because already there was a higher ground up there where the Canaanites actually would have moved their high places. That's why it's called a high place. The Israelites come over here to the old high places and they built up their temple. So, the God of Israel. You think that is surprising? If you go all the way to the desert, we have a temple which was built by Solomon, a copy-paste of that of Jerusalem temple, and in it he puts actually two figures of God and his Asherah. Folks, if there was no sin, there would be no reformation. The reformations of Hezekiah, looking up the high places, of Josiah, looking up the high places, right? Israel sinned, correct or not? They did worship other gods, and for them it was a problem to worship an invisible God while everyone else had a visible God. So that's actually why they went on erecting up an visible God, what we call a stela, and that's the pillar which is over there, which it seems that in the 8th century BC, as part of the Reformation, it was just knocked down on its side, and we can see it over there. So Israel did sin, right? Yeah. Especially the northern kingdom of Israel. I mean, that's where the focus is on. When we come all the way to sinning and worshipping other gods. But remember this one, because if you are to look right now, right behind you at that mountain, look at the left upper part of it. Can you see the two humps? Yeah. The upper hump to the left side, there's a building on it, right? That's Mount Carmel. That's actually where the encounter took place between Elijah and the prophets of Baal. Right at that spot. How do we know it's that place? Well, it's on YouTube.